I'm Joe Kiefer from Tulsa. I'm Rodger's cousin. I say cousin because he is, in fact, that. However, I'm just as likely to tell you that he's my elder brother. Rodger had just turned 12 and could visit at the hospital when I was first born. So I can also tell you that I've known Rodger my entire life. All through my childhood, Rodger and his mother Pauline lived with us. So he was always there to look up to. There's a family story of all of us at the dinner table, and my dad spotted something on the ceiling, something red on the ceiling. And as my dad climbed up and stood on his chair, he said, "Well, that's Jell-O." Immediately Rodger said, "Well, if it's Jell-O, I did it." You know, when my brother Mark and I were little kids, Rodger would take us on adventures like camping, fishing, hunting for arrowheads at the James River. Cool things we probably wouldn't have gotten to do otherwise. We once caught a rabbit for dinner, although he did traumatize me for life about getting rabbit fever while cleaning them. I've avoided rabbits ever since. Some adventures turned out more exciting than expected. Once during a visit to Lamar, Mark and I got to ride on the back of motor scooters with Rodger and one of the Kuhn boys. I'm not quite sure how we got to do it, especially riding down two-lane country roads with no helmets. But obviously we were wowed to be hanging with the big kids. So anyway, we pull into this little roadside burger stand with a gravel parking lot in the middle of nowhere. And the next thing I know, Rodger's on the ground fighting some guy. There were elbows and gravel flying everywhere. And, you know, we threw even more gravel as we peeled out to make our escape. I've also avoided motor scooters since then. Rodger did live life to the fullest. He totally owned the family curious, creative gene. And he was good at whatever he attempted. You know, his hobbies were always interesting, like scuba diving or Native American dancing. Nothing simple would be enough to challenge Rodger. He took up the guitar, and before long he was in a folk trio with Steve and Meredith playing around Springfield in the break of the dawn 60s. His man space was always packed with instruments of all manner, and as previously noted, he recently took up the ukulele, which he encouraged me to take up. He even learned to play the bagpipes, which must have been tough for his family to live through. I do know when they lived in Tulsa, he would practice Saturday mornings in one of the major urban parks, probably to give the family a break. No comments were available from the neighboring residents. There was nothing Rodger couldn't do if he set his mind to it. He made jewelry, he framed artwork. He taught me how to make this ring in 1969 when we recycled 4 quarters, a couple of dimes, and a St. Christopher medal. He started framing his mom's artwork in his garage, and it ended up turning into one of the major family businesses in Tulsa, Buffington Frames. He rocked the corporate world, and not surprisingly, he was always the youngest to hold his position. He bought a small printing business and turned it into an empire. Sometime in the 90s, as his country estate continued to grow, I started calling him Lord Bullington, which made him laugh, so he would always sign off his emails with just Bullington. Visiting Rodger and the family at the farm was always a treat. Great food, great conversation, and big laughs. His family are some of the best humans you'd ever hope to meet, and truly the funnest branch of the family. My family awoke many Christmas mornings in sleeping bags all over the floor of that den, and those are some of my kids' favorite memories. One Christmas, when they had cattle, Rodger rounded up several of us to help him band a calf. Rodger almost had the calf cornered in the corral when it took off full speed right at me. Rodger got all big-eyed, looked me right in the face and said, "Tackle him, Joe." I got all big-eyed, looked right back and said, "Hell no. I like my teeth." You know, I really couldn't get away with saying, "This ain't my first rodeo," because it was. It's also my last. Rodger never admitted it to the rest of us, but Vicky later revealed that when he finally did catch that calf and flipped it over for banding, it was a heifer. You know, and I love his gardening philosophy. Before leaving from a visit 2 years ago, he said, "Let's go pick some tomatoes for you guys to take home." As we walked to the garden, I asked him how many he planted that year, and he responded with some off-the-wall number like 42. And after I had expressed my astonishment, he explained, "You know, it's really simple. The bugs and the critters are going to get their share, so overwhelm them. Plant more than the locals can eat." He had figured out nature, because all his visitors left with a basket after the locals had their share. You know, shared history is the greatest loss, and I will miss him dearly, especially the stories in which we both know all the players. Rest easy, Bullington. I'll see you again, and I do expect homegrown tomatoes when I get there.